Here she comes.
Hey.
Hey, Jennifer Burke.
Here I am.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Well, I'm keeping it real in an unreal world.
This is an unreal world.
And I don't even know what that means, but it sure as heck sounds good. Hey, Jennifer, welcome to the program, man. It's so nice to have you on.
Thanks for having me on tonight. I appreciate it.
Okay, and I was telling the folks watching the program that you are the editor there over there at Politistick. Let's find out a little bit about that. What is it, and how did that start?
Politistick.com. It's Politi stick.com. It's a conservative commentary and news site I started along with my husband Matthew, who's watching, and a friend of ours, Christina.
All right.
We all started out, we in the Tea Party movement. I mean, my husband and I attended what's thought to be the first Tea Party rally, which was in Seattle in February 2009, the Porculus rally.
All right.
And we just felt like there's just a lot of media out there that's so biased, and even if it's biased towards the right, it's like we tell people, and people get angry with us over this. We say, look, we are movement conservatives. We don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you do something that goes against the Constitution and the freedom of the American people, we're going to call you out on it, because there are too many people that aren't calling people out on going exactly against the oath of office that they take, which is to defend and protect the Constitution.
Wow. So you developed the Politistick, but is it because you were frustrated with the way that the information was being presented, that it just kept grating you that they weren't following the Constitution?
Yeah, I mean, my husband and I started blogging back in 2008. Then he ran for Congress in Washington State in 2010. And so we kind of bucked the system there. Washington is pretty blue, and where we were living, King County, the Republicans are pretty squishy. It's a lot more conservative on the other side of the state. And then in 2012, we got involved with a Tea Party organization, worked there for a few years, then we left in February of 2015. Not really sure, it's a long story why we left, but weren't really sure what was going to happen after that. And then while we were waiting to see what was going to happen, we started Politistick in April 2015.
Oh, really?
Just to give, because we were writing for the previous organization, and because it was kind of a way for us to keep our sanity. That's why we started blogging in 2008, period. There was so much going on. It was kind of a way to get it all out. And, we noticed that there's just, like I said, there was a lot of even conservative media that's emboldened just to the party. We tell people we don't fall for the magic R. If that person calls themselves a Republican, do they follow the Republican platform? Because frankly, if Republicans had followed the Republican platform, the Tea Party would have never even come into existence when it did. One of the reasons it did is because they developed this platform, and then they're content with being party number two in Washington, D.C., and even acting like they're party number two, even when they have control of both houses of Congress. So somebody out there needed to call them out on it. We figured, why not us?
Why not you? Why not now? Wow, 2015, so that's a very recent development. And how has the website, has it increased your viewership or interactions, or what's going on with it? How's that going?
Yeah, it's going well. We've had our struggles in the last few months, as a lot of conservative media has had with Facebook. Unfortunately, lots of social media outlets out there aren't just left-leaning. It's like they're Democrat allies. There have been conservatives kicked off of Twitter. There's been conservatives kicked off of YouTube. Facebook has been in the news with what they've done as far as trying to stifle conservative voices. I don't know if you remember the whole flap when it turned out that trending topics on Facebook were handpicked by people. Then Facebook claimed, okay, no, we weren't going against conservatives, and we're not doing that anymore. We're doing it a new way that's not going to have the human component. But then just the other day, I saw a tweet by Matt Walsh that someone had tweeted to him, and there were things trending on Facebook that had far fewer people talking about them than Matt Walsh did about the latest article he had written on the Blaze. So it's a struggle when you're a conservative. You get attacked by the left and the right, unfortunately. It's like the right cozies up to many people on the right. For example, John Boehner cozied up to Nancy Pelosi while attacking people like Ted Cruz and Mike Lee.
I'll tell you what, man. If I saw, I call him John Boner, but if I
we do too.
oh wow, I like him more already. But if I see him cry one more time, man, I was going to throw up. I mean, really, are you a man? Or are you a wuss? I don't even get that. I mean, who is this guy? It took too long to get rid of him. But let me just real quickly just kind of deal with the elephant in the room just right off here, Jennifer. Do you know who Chris Harris is?
I do. He's a friend of mine. We've been connected on Facebook for many years.
Okay.
And we actually were able to finally meet in D.C. a couple of years ago.
Okay. It was interesting. We had him on the show, and he was Skyping live from his car. So we were driving around, maybe D.C. there. But obviously the unhyphenated American. Do you consider yourself hyphenated?
I don't. You know what? I remember, and I've talked about this before. I remember when the whole African American thing came up. I was in college. I went to Texas A&M. I was an executive with the Orientation Leadership Program. And I remember other non-minorities. It was me and another guy who was Hispanic. We were the two minorities on the team. And that was when the whole hyphenation started. And they would try to correct themselves because everyone was so used to saying black. And so a few of them would say Black African American. And finally I was like, look, there's nothing wrong. Black is not a derogatory term. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's, if you feel more comfortable saying black, say black. I say black. I do not say African American because, and I didn't see it at the time because I didn't really become politically minded until years later. But it was just the start of the divisiveness by the left. They want people to identify as anything other than an American. That's why you had students in California who were told that, no, you can't wear patriotic shirts to school because it might upset the kids who are originally from Mexico. Even though one of the kids was actually half Hispanic. His mother was from Mexico. His father was American. His mother had become an American. And the kids who were originally from Mexico that had come to this country and were at the school were able to fly their Mexican flags, but these boys could not wear their American flag T-shirts because it might upset someone. And so we see that more and more with the left. People saying, "Oh, we have to, encourage them to be proud of their culture and their heritage, unless it has anything to do with American heritage." And then they want you to be divided because it's their whole divide and conquer platform.
Yeah,
what they do.
Divide and control. And
divide,
of course,
conquer, and control.
And the smaller the group, the more they say, hey, look, your group needs our control. We need to help you, And I was thinking, that's kind of what Ronald Reagan said. One of the 7 or 11 words you don't never want to hear is we're from the government and we're here to help you. And I'll tell you what, the government is helping us with our health care. I don't think we need that kind of help. I mean, what they use for the help doesn't seem to fit.
No, I mean, their definition of help is you are in need of government assistance in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I was just talking about this with my best friend. It's funny. We met, years ago, and early in our teaching careers, we didn't know each other's politics, but we were both Christian, and so thank goodness my best friend is actually as conservative as I am. We were talking about this yesterday. How what's wrong with healthcare the way it was? There wasn't a problem. I mean, I know more people now. I don't know where Obama finds these people that he puts on his Twitter account. People saying, "Oh, I love Obamacare. My premium is only $20 a month." I'm like, where'd you find this person? Because I know people who have had their premiums double, who've had their premiums triple. I know a woman who she and her husband canceled their insurance because it went up to $5,000 a month. Now, these are two people in their probably early 60s, grown children. It's just her and her husband. And she said our insurance was going to go up to $5,000 a month with an $11,000 deductible. She said, we don't have that kind of money. So she was like, we're just going to have to take our chances, cancel our insurance, and pay the fine, which I was reading. They haven't figured out how to make people pay the fine anyway. So it's an absolute mess. But they want it to be a mess.
Right.
derail the system so that the big government can step in and give everybody single payer, because we see how well it's working out with the VA.
Right, and I think that was part of the WikiLeaks, is that Hillary Clinton was quoted as saying that she wants it to implode so that she can bring in her, one payer system, and that's going to create the entire healthcare system, and it's going to look worse than the VA. There's no way government bureaucrats can manage 300 million people's healthcare. They can't do it.
Just look at what they did with the IRS. I don't know if you heard about this a couple of years ago, but there were stories in the news a few years back that the IRS wasn't even answering the telephone. Their workers were instructed to not answer the 800 calls from taxpayers who were calling with questions. But the government wants us to believe that they can run the healthcare system, and they love it so much that Congress tried to exempt themselves from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right, and that's the thing. They have exempted themselves from their own laws. I don't even get that. Can't we even make them participate in what they foisted on the rest of us?
Yeah, if the American people had a backbone, it's like there's too many people that are, I don't even know if they know what they cheer for, clap for, or if they just hear someone talking and they think, okay, now's the time for me to cheer. I mean, I know people who love Obama's, President Obama is doing such a great job, that these same people will complain about their health care. They'll complain when tax time comes around. And I'm like, are you missing the connection here? Do you not understand that your health care has gone up because of Obama, and your taxes are going up because of his policies, yet you still think he's a great president? I mean, there's a complete disconnect. But there was a disconnect period from the beginning. People didn't know what Obama's past was. They didn't want to know.
Yeah.
They didn't want to hear about Jeremiah Wright. They didn't want to hear. Remember Dinesh D'Souza's first movie? All he did was take Obama's first book and make it into a film.
Right.
And visited some of the places and talked to some people. That's all he did. Yet he was, attacked and demonized, and then eventually made an example out of. He admitted, I gave a little bit more to a friend who was running for something for office. But there are people that have done far worse than him who did not end up in jail. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, they tried to force him to stay working with a psychiatrist for a re-education type, even though the psychiatrist said, he doesn't need to come to me. This man is perfectly fine, but the government tried to force it upon him. It was, what they did to him and what they did, another topic, Benghazi, finding a scapegoat, guy who had made a YouTube video that no one had ever seen and imprisoned him for over a year.
Yeah.
People should be outraged over that.
Yeah, he's a political prisoner is what he is, and a convenient scapegoat. And, that goes to the heart of a little bit of Hillary's campaign and her character. I for one believe the parents that were lied to at Benghazi, or at the funeral, as they were coming off for the funeral, and she said, it was the video and we're going to get the guy. Then she blames the parents. How horrible is that? I don't blame them because they're messed up in the head because their child died. They got things all mixed up. No, they didn't get nothing mixed up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one father took notes every step along the way, and she's on video. She is on video, standing in front of the caskets, blaming a YouTube video. Mm-hmm. There are records of conversations obtained by Judicial Watch where, she's changing up her story depending upon who she was talking to. Yet she's never attacked over calling Gold Star families liars. Mm-hmm. The way she's treated those families, it's like people don't really care. People probably even realize that they are Gold Star families, or that Hillary's story, even there, her public position. Well, I guess her public position has changed too. She wants to deny that she called them liars. She wants to deny that she said what she said, but it's all on record. Well,
she also claims to be the champion of women, but I think she needs to qualify that. You have to be a woman really that votes for her. That I'm with Hillary. If you don't got I'm with Hillary, she's not really for women. She's for a certain amount of women, and that's Jan Brewer was saying today at a Trump rally, saying that in all the years she's won elections, not once did she say vote for me because I'm a woman, but vote for me if you feel like I'm qualified for the job.
Yeah, I saw an interesting tweet a couple of weeks ago, just to show media bias. When Hillary Clinton announced her campaign, she said, the AP said, Hillary Clinton announces her potentially history-making campaign, because if she would win, she'd be the first female president. Mm-hmm. But when Carly Fiorina announced her presidential campaign, the AP tweet was just, Carly Fiorina announces her campaign to become the Republican nominee. That was it.
Yeah, that's muted.
I mean, that's it. And then look at, however you feel about her. I mean, look at Sarah Palin. I will never forget, back at the time, people were expecting Oprah Winfrey to have her on the show. People were like, isn't this the type of story you would want to have on the show, Oprah? And all of a sudden, no, I don't do politics, even though a few weeks before she'd had Obama on the show. Mm-hmm.
I still like the idea of her shooting wolves from a helicopter. Wow. I mean, come on. Hey, I'll tell you what, though. Let's talk about this bombshell. Are we dealing with the October? Is this the October surprise with the reinvestigation of Hillary Clinton? What? Tell me what you
Who
think,
saw
Jennifer?
this coming? I certainly didn't see it coming. I mean, It was just shocking. Absolutely shocking. But you know what? Maybe Comey's trying to save face. He knows, just like everyone else knows, that Hillary should have been indicted. Mm-hmm. And when Hillary Clinton stands before the American people and say, the FBI determined that I did nothing wrong. No, that's not what they determined, Hillary. He actually made the case. We were watching, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is actually going to happen. Like he's going to,
right. He's making the case.
What charges she's going to face. And then in the end, he says what? Anyone else, that he wasn't recommending charges. But if anyone else had done this, they would probably face legal action. Just because if someone else does the same thing doesn't mean that they'd get off. And I was telling a friend of mine just yesterday, I remember, I forget which Republican pundit it was, back when the whole Emailgate investigation started. And this Republican pundit on TV said, I don't want to see a former first lady go to prison. And I'm like, what does the fact that she's a former first lady have to do with anything? Are you saying that there should be two sets of laws, one for people that have been married to a president and one for people who haven't? I mean, what kind of thing is that to say? The law, we're supposed to be a country that's a rule of law. The law is the law, and if she broke it, she should face a consequence. She says all the time, I accept the consequences. There were no consequences. Mm-hmm. And she lied over and over and over again about numerous different things and just completely gets a pass on it all.
Mm-hmm. And that is right. And, you said earlier, Jennifer Berg, that even conservative talk show hosts or programs, they tout their particular candidate, but I'm thinking, well, they've been touting candidates for 20 years, and we're at the exact same place we were 20 years ago. This country's not any better off. If you look at Obama's term, only one thing did they ever do, and that's override his veto so the parents could sue of 9/11 could sue. That's the only thing they ever did. And so all these conservative talk show hosts, we want this guy in, want that guy. Well, they got all those guys in, and they're nothing but the establishment. I'm with you on that I don't vote for the R. I vote for somebody who can keep this country heading in the right direction, specifically in a constitutional manner, so we can keep everybody in the rule of law and let the government get off of the people's backs.
Right. I mean, if you don't hold people's feet to the fire, then they're going to do whatever it is they want to do. It's amazing to me that people treat these elected officials completely different than they treat their own child. I mean, would they let their children get away with saying they were going to do one thing and then going against their word and promise and doing something completely different? No, they wouldn't. Mm-hmm. Their children would face some kind of consequence. Mm-hmm. But it's incredible. I said many times towards the end of John Boehner's speakership, I'm like, they act like. Now, granted, there are still a lot of people that aren't paying attention, but there are a lot more who are paying attention. Mm-hmm. That's how we got the government we have now. People they were living their lives and weren't paying attention. But there are a lot more people who are paying attention now, and the Republicans acted like they didn't exist. They'd still promise one thing at an election and then turn around and not do it or do something completely different. Mm-hmm. Well, all while attacking conservatives. I remember in 2012, there were conservatives who went against Boehner who got removed from their committee positions, especially if they were a chair of some sort. It happened to a lot of conservatives from Arizona. And no one fought back, and so it just stood. But then in 2014, it happened again. I forget who was it. Forget who it was, but it happened again. Somebody was removed from committee, and he made a stink of it about it. He shed light on it. People got behind him, went to Republican leadership, and he ended up being reinstated to his committee position. Why? Because their feet were held to the fire for punishing somebody just because they went against the speaker. It's so sick. I'm like, these people take an oath to this country and the Constitution, not to a political party and not to an individual. But I remember when they were trying to pass Obamacare, listening to the story about this Democrat congresswoman, and she said, my husband's a doctor. Someone who knows her was telling the story. She said, my husband's a doctor. He tells me how terrible this will be for the country. But if I vote no, she, i.e. Nancy Pelosi, will make my life miserable. And that's how they're running Washington, D.C.
That is the craziest crap I've ever heard. They're all in on it, as far as I can tell. There's an industry, and they are making millions. Now, here's we got this dolt, this clown in Indiana coming back to try to be a senator. His name is Evan Bayh. And he was Indiana senator because he was a name. He had name recognition because of his daddy. We sent him to Washington. Well, he tried to take the high ground. By the way, I think he was the deciding vote on Obamacare. But he went to Washington and he said, well, this thing's messed up. I just cannot, I can't deal with all the way they handle things. I'm going to take the high road. I'm going to step down out of that position. Well, before he did, he got some kind of bank bailout, sent millions of dollars to the banks. He dropped out of the Senate and went and worked for the same damn bank that got millions of dollars of government bailout, and he got millions of dollars salary. Well, so he disappeared. He's got 2 or 3 homes. He come back to Indiana now. He says, you know what? I think I need to run for Senate again. Well, yeah, I got it. You want to go back there and do the same crap that you did before. And so, what's funny about it is you have to live in Indiana to be a senator. Well, he said, well, I have a house. Well, he was interviewed, and in the interview, he gave the wrong address because he rents this little apartment somewhere, and he claims that is his house, but he forgot what the address is because he never goes there. The news went to the neighborhood, said, did you know Evan Bayh lives around here? We've never seen him. So this is kind of stuff that they just enrich themselves. I think there's, I don't know what president said or some famous person said, that you should never be rich if you are in public office. But
no,
everyone
look
who's
how many of them are. Right. It's incredible. Nancy Pelosi wants to rail against, CEOs where, they have these laws to where if a financial advisor got rich due to insider information, they'd be unlicensed and lose their job. But these congressmen and these congress people and senators, they've gotten rich off of insider information. I remember, shockingly enough, a few years ago, Nancy Pelosi was cornered and asked about these deals that, suddenly she became a wealthy woman. Of course, she wouldn't answer. Harry Reid, how is someone in government their entire life and they're a millionaire? The left would like to demonize Darrell Issa. I would tell people, I don't care that Darrell Issa is a millionaire. I think he made his money with what I heard before, Viper security systems. The man became a millionaire before he went to Congress. So what? God bless him. I care about these people who go who start their government life, and that's all they've ever done. And then now suddenly making, where they've been making anywhere from $40,000 to $140,000 a year, they're a millionaire. All because of their dirty dealings that anyone else would probably go to prison for. Right.
I think Dirty Harry Reid, he tried to take a rancher's plot of land so he could sell it to the Chinese for solar panels, man. I mean, geez, man, what kind of game plan we got? Hey, one of our viewers wrote in a question for you, Jennifer, of Politistick there. What do you think about Article 5 of the Constitution? Where I believe that the Congress can impeach the president without a vote, or without
Congress can impeach the president.
The states as a whole can impeach the president. I think that's what Article 5 is. I'm pretty sure.
I think that the president, Barack Obama, there are many instances where he could have been impeached. My husband was just saying yesterday, he doesn't know if Congress today has the nerve to impeach anybody, no matter what level of corruption that they're at. Now. It's really astounding that no one acts when the president does things that are unconstitutional. Right. What's the point of the Constitution if they're not going to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans are supposed to be the ones that stand up for it the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have states that are talking about convention of the states.
Yeah, convention
because
of the
they
states,
see that with the federal government. It's just like they want to act like state sovereignty is non-existent. They bribe states with their own money. When my husband was running for Congress, his name's Matthew, and Washington,
mm-hmm.
I remember we were at this meeting. We were talking to a person in leadership in our county, and she goes, "Well, Matthew, your job, if you were elected, what would you do to bring home the bacon?" And Matthew was like, "What?" He was like, he told her, that's the biggest problem we have. We have the people being forced to give their money to the federal government and then being bribed, with it after it's being cycled and only getting a percentage of it back. He was just astounded and shocked that a Republican leader would talk about pork. After all, Seattle had the first Tea Party rally, the Porkulus rally, against all the pork.
It's incredible the way they behave. And you're right. The people can't really rise up because we send people to Congress and we expect them to do things, to drain the swamp. They don't drain the swamp. They become part of the swamp. And so there's.
Matthew would tell people, I don't want to go to Congress to get things done. I want to go to get things undone. He would tell people when we were at events, you're probably breaking the law just sitting in your seat right now and you don't even know it. There's so many laws and regulations to control every single aspect of your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. With the whole light bulb, remember when the whole light bulb thing, the light bulbs that if you broke one, it took a hazmat team almost to clean it up so no one got hurt or injured. We're like, so what are you saying? Mm-hmm. People can't choose light bulbs effectively, but you want, like right now, there's some Democrats that were pushing to let 16-year-olds vote. I mean, how much sense does all of this make? They want to make decisions for you regarding your life that you should be able to make on your own. But then again, they want everybody to vote, no matter how dumb, naive, ignorant you are about who it is you're voting for.
That reminds me of a classic. A congressman went on the floor, and he said that OSHA spent $500,000 to create a child-proof bucket because so many children drown in a bucket of water every year. So he goes out there and he has it. I think it was filled with confetti. He may have it filled with water, but he holds up a bucket and it had holes in it. They spent $500,000 and it just started draining on the congressional floor there. It's like, wow, this is the government that we have working for us, and they say we can help you manage your life.
Right. Yeah. A clear example of the fact of people who really are just voting. Oh, this person's a Democrat. Let me vote for them. Oh, this person's a Republican. Let me vote. Oh, they've been in office for a long time. I guess they're good. Let me vote for them. Hank Johnson from Florida. Not from Florida, from Georgia. I remember back years ago when he was afraid that if more people went to the island of Guam, that if more people were in Guam, it would tip over. This was years ago. And the man is still in Congress. I'm like, how are these people electing and reelecting every 2 years because he's a congressman? Mm-hmm. This idiot who thought that Guam, an island, would actually tip over.
And you know that really is a thing. If people can't believe what you're saying, yes, that guy, that was a congressman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that and I could not believe it. I said, "Is this person for real?" All right, we have another question. This is from our Fast Blast from John in Pennsylvania. It says, Jennifer, do you think that there might be electronic brainwashing signals from TV that make people believe in Hillary?
I don't believe in anything like that. I just think that you have people that just don't.
Well, let me ask.
When Democrats took over the educational system, mm-hmm. they taught people that socialism is good. They've wiped out, all the stories, all the history of American exceptionalism. Mm-hmm. They don't want people to learn about the founding fathers. Mm-hmm. That's why you have kids today. Millennials think that more people died under George Bush than died under Stalin. That's why you have kids typing on their iPhones how capitalism sucks because they're just that ignorantly hypocritical, and it's because of what they're being taught in school, which is why I tell people all the time, you have to be aware of what's going on in your school. I'm thankful that my children were not subject. Well, they were subject. I mean, they had teachers that tried, but they were firmly grounded, and they would talk to us about things. And so they have not been brainwashed in the educational system against capitalism, free markets, conservatism, stuff like that.
All right, and for those of you just joining the broadcast tonight, we have with us Jennifer Burke, editor of Politistick, the Politistick. What's the website? What's your website?
Politistick.com. It's POLITI stick.com.
Okay. Well, you know what? I do admire your passion there because, and I always say in this program, if you want to make a difference in the world, you got to have passion. And, if people expect, you mentioned they keep voting the same people in and they're going to get the same results. And I was thinking, I think it's Arizona. There are one or two states that their Obamacare premiums are going to go 100 to 116, 20% higher. What kind of idiot would vote for someone who's promising you that that's going to not only continue, we're going to make it, well, they would say better, but they're going to make it worse. They're going to go higher. Why would somebody not make the connection that the person you're wanting to vote for is the person that is going to continue draining your bank account to pay for health care that doesn't work?
Yeah, it makes no sense. I'm baffled. I mean, in Arizona, we don't have a ton of Democrats, in DC. I mean, but there are some, because the district lines are drawn so oddly. It's when we moved here, I was like, how? I mean, you have something that runs from the border of Mexico all the way up to northern Arizona. It makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm. But we do have some far left people. Kirsten Sinema is actually, I mean, she's a communist. I mean, she signed some communist pledge, but she got elected somehow, some way in Arizona. But then we have very conservative people like, not our senators, not the senators, but we have very conservative congressmen like Schweikert and Gosar, who are some of the ones who were attacked by Boehner for not falling in line. But yeah, that's just it's an example. People, and they fall for the lies. Mm-hmm. They fall for the rhetoric, not the reality, which is why you can have Michelle Obama now standing in front of a microphone talking about, people saying how America isn't great. America is great. Really? Because in 2008, you said that you didn't see America as being great until your husband got elected president. So which is it?
Wow. Man, I'd like to see you debate her. Oh, how about this? She says Trump is the worst kind of womanizing throwback ever, and she extols the virtue of that crotch-grabbing, twerking Beyonce. I mean, I'm not getting it as a role model for young girls. Are you kidding me?
Right. I mean, when the Obamas released their recommended music list, when spring break comes around and stuff, you look at those songs and you're like, are you serious? You're the president and first lady of the United States, and this is what you're telling children to listen to? You have, Buddy with Jay-Z, whose lyrics are, far worse than that audio of Donald Trump. If you're going to call out Donald Trump over that, that's all well and good. But you can't do that and then as first lady have your arms around Beyonce and Jay-Z and act like they're great role models for your daughters. Again, hypocrisy. But people don't make that connection. I mean, they think Jay-Z is great. I've told it's incredible the hypocrisy that these people get away with, because people don't look at the reality. They only listen to the soaring rhetoric. That's why Obama was able to talk about, remember when he said, we're not going to have any red states, any blue states. It's going to be the United States of America. And then from day one, he worked to start dividing the country. Yeah,
from day one. Yeah, I remember the beer summit there. We have a question from our live chat, this time from DC. Doug says, what are your thoughts about Obama's accomplishments or lack thereof?
Obama's accomplishments.
Do you need a long list? Do you need a couple hours? Do you need a couple hours for that one, or?
Yeah, I don't know that I can name one. I mean, if you're a far leftist, then you could say, he's worked to do what he wanted to do, fundamentally transform the country into having greater racial strife and divisiveness than ever in my lifetime. He's fundamentally transformed the country to to demonize police to the point where you have people actually calling for there to be no police at all. He's fundamentally transformed our government by creating numerous bureaucrats who are making laws unconstitutionally. But as far as anything positive, I mean, GDP hasn't been great under Obama. The unemployment numbers are a farce. There are far more people unemployed than previously before. Healthcare has not gotten any better under Obama. It's gotten worse.
Or cheaper.
They try to convince people that it's better, but it's really not. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't name one, to tell you the truth.
It's interesting how the newspapers keep saying, maybe the Republicans have been blocking the full implementation of Obamacare. And that's the problem right there. They need to get out of the way and start helping us over here. Well, Jonathan Gruber, whatever his name is.
I like Goober better than Gruber.
He definitely is a goober. Saying that American people were stupid and they didn't know any better. Well, they did kind of know, and only one half of the Congress voted for it. And it was at night, and it was a trick, and there were bribes and payoffs and kickbacks flying all over there to get that thing passed. So, people fell for that. I guess they fell for that, and now we're stuck with it. The Republicans were sent to Congress to get rid of it, and they didn't do a damn thing.
No, they didn't. I mean, like with Planned Parenthood, Republicans could have defunded Planned Parenthood. They had every opportunity to defund Planned Parenthood. When I lived in Houston, I grew up in Houston. The Christian radio station in Houston had a fundraiser at the beginning of the year for 3 days. Mm-hmm. And in those 3 days, they raised all the money needed to run that station for the entire year.
Okay.
Might have been a week. I'm not sure. And they did this because they didn't want to have to run political commercials. They didn't want to, they didn't want kind of more of the regulations that come with not doing it that way. I mean, that's why when election time came around, you didn't have to listen to commercials. I'm like, if the left believed in Planned Parenthood that much, why don't people just give their money directly to them? Mm-hmm. Why does any taxpayer money have to go to Planned Parenthood? Because we can see that it's not, they say, none of it's going towards abortion. Well, really, no, the money is still commingled. The lies that are told about Planned Parenthood, they do cancer screenings. No, they not. They give people a referral to someone else. Mm-hmm. And Planned Parenthood are big Democrat supporters. Hillary's been campaigning with the Planned Parenthood president. Mm-hmm. Now why should my tax dollars go to that?
Right, and that goes to the heart of this other matter. This October surprise turns out that 97% of the Justice Department contributes to Hillary's campaign. Wow. No wonder they're trying to get her. They're trying to block James Comey's reopening the investigation. Well, he already has, and they're infuriated over there. I'm sure Loretta. Now I call her Loretta Stench, but I'm sure she's. Everybody's got a name. You got Goober, you got John Boner, you got Loretta Stench. I mean, because these people are the worst kind of players out there. And, they live in this la-la land feeding off of the government trough, i.e. the taxpayers. They play us into groups, and they play us like little chess pieces. Okay, well, we do this group. And if some program fails, oops, I'm sorry, 10,000 people lost their job over in coal mine country. Well, why don't we just put some money over here in Solyndra and say, give $500 million over there, and it's like there's lives here. They're playing with people's lives. This Obamacare is ruining people's lives, and they go, well, that didn't work. Well, maybe we need to get some more money. Well, what about the lives you ruined? Get it the hell away from us, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, when they say, we just need bigger government. We need government to step in more. No, we need government to get out of the lives of people. Mm-hmm. and stop trying to run them. I remember Walter Williams, the famed black libertarian economist. He said at one point in time, I'm really glad I got my education before affirmative action came into play, because he didn't, he was challenged just as much as anyone else, and he wasn't given some kind of pass, or he had to make the grade in order to get accepted into this degree program or whatever. And it's incredible. It's like that the big government wants to be the daddy to everybody. Remember when Chris Rock even said, Barack and Michelle Obama are like our mother and father? No, they're not. He's the president of the United States. He's not my daddy. And if you want to see him as your daddy, there's a problem, because he says to do something we're supposed to do. No, that's not how the government of America works. We have 3 co-equal branches of government, and it does not work that Obama says what he wants and Congress does it. But I don't know how many times I saw Obama supporters say, in response to his executive orders, well, what is he supposed to do? I mean, Congress wouldn't do what he wanted. Good. Then that's the check.
Right.
That's the check that we're supposed to have.
Right.
Which is why people were infuriated when the Supreme Court, remember the whole, it's a tax, it's a fine, it's a tax, it's a fine. And the Supreme Court changed the language of Obamacare in order to make it official.
Yeah, that was John Roberts. I think they had something on him. I think they probably had the NSA tap in his computer, and they probably found some kiddie porn and said, hey, you better pass this thing, get this thing going through. And you mentioned Obama, being a daddy. Well, I know there's a Pastor Manning out there that refers to him as a long-legged Mac daddy. And I kind of like the term, man. It's a lot of fun. But no, you're right. He ain't my daddy, and he needs to get the hell away from me. Let's get another question. This is from Philip in Georgia. Now on the Fast Blast, it says, "What is the future of the Tea Party?"
Well, I think the Tea Party, unfortunately, the brand was ruined by a lot of people that basically formed organizations just to make money. I mean, and frankly, that's one of the big reasons we left where we were, is because things weren't getting done with it turned into this big money making thing. And I think that too many people that got in it to make money ruined the movement, cozying up with the very people that they were supposed to be fighting against. And the Republicans helped kind of destroy it they would use some of the same language about the Tea Party that the Democrats were using. I mean, it was astounding. They got into power in 2012 because of the Tea Party. Mm-hmm. And then what did they do? They turned around and started bad-mouthing them, months later when the Tea Party started fighting against them when they weren't doing what they said they were going to do. I think those people that were within the Tea Party, a lot of them are still active. Mm-hmm. Some of them aren't, unfortunately. Obama, Matthew and I were just talking about this the other day, how it was more than just Tea Party organizations not being given 501c3 tax status. I mean, you had people being audited. I remember there was a woman who owned a steel company in Texas. She said, I've owned this company for over 20 years. I've never had a problem. And all of a sudden, when I started becoming vocal and became a leader in my local Tea Party, any regulatory agency that could come down on me came down on me. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's incredible to me, the support they give to Black Lives Matter and that they gave to Occupy Wall Street, with Obama saying, oh, it's just great, citizens exercising their right to protest. Didn't say that about the Tea Party. But there are a lot of people that are still in it. It's not, I don't even know if the local groups are as strong as they are. In Phoenix, it is. Mm-hmm. The local guy is a good friend of ours. But some of them, I'm sure, have disbanded. But there are lots of other people that still have a big voice. Dana Lash was a big person in the Tea Party movement. Mm-hmm. She still has a huge voice out there. Mm-hmm. So it's just you're not, I'd be leery of official Tea Party organizations because they led people, including me, to believe that they had good intentions, and it ended up not being the case.
Here's a question for you. Does Politistick.com do any independent polls or polling?
I mean, not official polling. We're small. We'll have an internet poll, that's it. But we don't have like Gravis polling or anything like that because that costs lots of money.
One question before we get going to break. Why did it cost $5 billion to build a defective website on Obamacare?
Yeah, and Canadians built it. We have Silicon Valley, and then we have mini Silicon Valley in the Seattle area, and the government had to go to somebody in Canada to build a website that didn't work. It's incredible, but that's okay. They can run healthcare. They can't run a functional website.
Now, I think it's still not working. I just had an epiphany there. I think somebody needs to go back to that and see how much that company contributed to the Clinton Foundation.
Well, there was a connection somehow, some way with somebody in the Obama regime. I cannot remember what it was, but there was some kind of connection. But I remember when I found out It was a Canadian company. It made no sense with the massive technology companies that we have in this country.
Yeah, well, it did make sense, I think, because the woman that runs it went to the college that Michelle Obama went to.
Yes.
Jennifer Burke of Politistick, we're right at the top of the hour. We take about a 5-minute break here. You'll be out of the picture, but you'll still be online here. So why don't you tell us about Politistick.com real quick before we go?
Yeah, check us out, politistick.com, conservative commentary and news. We weave our opinion throughout our articles. And like I said, we don't care who it is. If they go against the Constitution and freedom, somebody needs to call them out on it, and we'll make sure that people know about it.
Very good. Okay. Like I said, you'll be on the line, but you'll be out of the picture, and we're going to take our break right now. So here we go.
Okay.
All right, everybody. You're watching and/or listening to the Edge television broadcast. On our Newsmaker line tonight is, of course, Jennifer Burke of Politistick. So this show will begin to replay directly after the program. So can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, we're back online. Welcome to the second half of the Edge broadcast. Jennifer, in the first half, we were talking about the shenanigans pulled by Obama as far as, we didn't mention the executive orders, but the unconstitutional activities that he has. Going in with this October surprise, there's two possibilities that can happen here that I can see. One, that instead of an executive order or a pardon after the fact, is it possible for Obama to pardon her before she's even charged, saying, I've had enough of this foolishness, we need to wipe this? Is it possible? That's one scenario. Second scenario, if Hillary wins, could she pardon herself?
You know, it's funny that you asked about pardoning herself, because I have a friend, I need to look more into this, but I have a friend who I trust, she's in the political world too, and she looked into it, and she said that Hillary could pardon herself if she happened to win. People have said it would be political suicide if she did, but at that point, what would she care? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't put anything past these people. They're so, it's just really, really sad. The state of the government. Mm-hmm. It's no wonder. The more you know, the more you realize this is why people don't trust the government.
Right.
Hillary Clinton shouldn't even be running for president. I always told people she has some nerve running for president, given all the controversies and scandals surrounding her.
Right.
And at one point in time, people said, is she running so that she could try to get away with it? In the end, Comey did say anyone else probably would be facing legal action. But when it came to the most recent findings and reopening the investigation, apparently Comey didn't tell the White House. And I told people yesterday, it's no surprise he didn't, because he probably would have gotten leaned on by the White House not to, because apparently, according to information revealed through WikiLeaks, there was all kind of pressure. Hillary was never going to face any consequences.
Right. They had that covered. The corruption of our institution is just beyond reason and understanding. You wouldn't think that would ever happen in this country, but it has. You mentioned the IRS, but what we see is our institutions have become weaponized. They're political weapons to be used against those to silence voices, the dissenting voices, and that is the most un-American of activities ever. I mean, they need to be investigated. Speaking of WikiLeaks, we had this question come in. It looks like it from our live chat. It says, Julian Assange said the next WikiLeaks will send Obama and Hillary to jail. What do you think about that? And I got to say, Jennifer, my Facebook feed is always saying, well, here's the smoking gun, that she's going to jail. This is it. And then another one. Here she is this is going to end her. Of course it doesn't. But what do you think about, what do you think's coming from WikiLeaks?
Who knows? If he said that, he must have something. But this is why you have Democrat and leftist pundits saying, we don't know if those emails are real or not. They could be doctored. No, they're not doctored. You guys just don't like the revelations that have been discovered in the emails, like Obama saying that the first he heard of Hillary's server, what her private server and private email was on the news, when it turns out he was communicating with her in that private server housed in someone's bathroom using an alias name. What the heck were a president and his Secretary of State talking about using an avenue which was not being, monitored or controlled at all by the government? I mean, it really is scary stuff when you think about it, and something that really should give people strong reservations, to put it mildly, about Hillary Clinton, and also question what actually has been going on in Obama's government. People say, with Trump and Putin, oh, Trump has a bromance with Putin. I'm waiting for the television host to ask, well, what did Obama mean a few years ago when he told Putin's, I don't know who he was speaking with, someone in Putin's government, tell Vladimir I'll have more leeway after the election.
Right.
What did that mean? Mm-hmm. He didn't realize that the mic was catching him.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what what he has. Mm-hmm. But the question is, will the media talk about it?
Right. And I'm going back to, I mentioned Solyndra just briefly before the break, I think. But, $500 million went to that company through the Obama administration. And then the company renegotiated the loan and said that should we ever file bankruptcy, we're going to get paid first, and then the government can get paid second, as if they knew it was coming. And then they filed for bankruptcy. These kind of shenanigans, and I bet you there's a connection to the Clinton Foundation on that one too. So it looks like that our government is and I'm particularly the Democrats. Republicans are a bunch of fools anyway, so I don't like any of them. So I'm not trying to be a partisan, but they seem to know how to just take large sums of money and to put it to a project that doesn't work, but the people that run it get enriched, and then they feed it back to the Democratic Party.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, look at what Hillary Clinton did. They're not. If it would have been a Republicans foundation that did this, and that hurricane hit Haiti, the leftist media would have been all over this. But years ago, the Clinton Foundation raised money for Haiti after that devastating earthquake, and they were supposed to build houses. Houses were never built. But instead, what was it? They built some kind of factory somewhere far away from that area. And a Clinton friend who actually was already serving a federal prison term got $10 million richer. I mean, it's the Clinton Foundation. That's the other thing. The revelations when it comes to WikiLeaks and the pay to play between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department, or Bill Clinton. How Hillary Clinton people can cheer when she demonizes CEOs who actually risked everything to build a business, and they became multimillionaires because of the Clinton Foundation and the speeches that were arranged for Bill. I was saying, what if Hillary becomes president? Is Bill's speech fee going to go up? Speaking fee going to go up even more? Because that's what happened when she became Secretary of State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure did. Yeah, the closer she got to the running, the higher the fees went. This is a question for you. It says, Jennifer, has the country gone too far to come back?
I don't know. We talk about that too. I don't know if it'll come back in our generation. I don't know. I'm encouraged, for future generations. I actually know quite a few millennials who are in the fight now. Not what they say when what's the saying? Something about when younger people tend to be leftists, and then the older you get, the more money you make, and the more taxes you pay. It often changes your tune on politics. Mm-hmm.
Right, when you got to pay.
People need to understand that the left got this country where it was, not over a matter of a year or two or a couple of election cycles, but it's been over 100 years in the making. Right. I mean, they've pushed and pushed and pushed, and my husband and I would talk about this. They push for 100% of this, and then they get 10%. Okay, we'll settle for that 10. Then they'll push again and get a little percentage. And then they'll push again and get a little percentage. And we were just talking earlier, a lot of people don't understand how culture and politics relate. But the left has convinced the right that, you can't fight the culture war, and you should just really give up the social and the cultural issues, all while they have been helping to change the mindset of people when it comes to culture, when it comes to our societal morality or lack thereof and integrity. I think people have to realize this is a long-haul war, not a short-term battle.
How does any president have the authority to let perverted men go into little girls' bathrooms? Where is that under the purview of the executive branch? I don't get that. I didn't see that in the damn Constitution.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like someone who believes, and it's not even necessarily someone who believes they're of the opposite gender when they're clearly not. And there have been instances where someone said, you know what, I just feel more comfortable going into the women's restroom, and they were told by management of a Target, okay, If the woman has a problem, just let me know. It's astounding. It's like that person, no, you can't discriminate against that person, even though they're biologically. Now, if someone has had surgery where everything's changed and they look like a woman, I have a problem with that because that's doctors playing God. But still, that's one thing. But for someone to be biologically a male and for girls to be told, sorry, they have to be allowed to use your locker room, they have to be allowed to use your shower, you can't discriminate against them and not using your dressing rooms. That's just so sick and perverted. It's like Satan's work right here on earth.
Right.
And I'm astounded. In I forget which year it was. It might have been about 2014 in Houston, my hometown. Houston elected their first lesbian mayor, Niece Parker.
Right.
And towards the end of her term, she got more and more and more radical. And she tried to force upon the city what she termed hero, which I'm like, what the freak is heroic about a man putting on a dress and a wig? There's nothing heroic about that, but that's what she called it, the Hero Act. And it was exactly what Obama did at the national level. You have to allow men, who say that they are women to go into the women's dressing rooms, bathrooms, locker rooms, etc., and vice versa, for a woman. And pastors in Houston fought against it. And they had Niece Parker ended up demanding their sermons. Yeah. And Greg Abbott at the time was the Attorney General, and he said, "No, you're not going to demand their sermons." He stepped in because he knew that wasn't right. And initially, they tried to turn down the signatures. They did a petition to get it on a ballot, right. And the city of Houston tried to say, "No, sorry, you don't have the right signatures," but they did. So they have to fight that. It got on the ballot, and that Hero Act, quote unquote, was shot down. Even in black neighborhoods in Houston that gone for Obama, black people in Houston overwhelmingly voted that down. And so when Obama then did it nationally, I was like, okay, surely this is going to be the thing. Surely this is going to be the thing that wakes some people up because, black people in Houston shot that down. People that had voted for Obama overwhelmingly shot it down, and now he's doing it nationally. And it's just like, well, it's Obama. Yay, our president. As a black woman, I just want to say for those listeners that might be listening and not watching on Skype, I'm a black conservative woman, and I am glad to say that I never, ever bought into we have to vote for Obama to make history. You don't vote for someone to make history. You vote for someone based upon their experience, their policies, and whether or not they are going to. He put his hand on the Bible like everyone else and said he's going to uphold and defend the Constitution. Is he going to do that, or does history show you that he's not going to?
With Chicago's gun-free zone and 3,000 shootings, or maybe 3,000 murders, I don't know. Is that murder or shootings? Some unbelievable amount. I mean, you mentioned a while ago about the 100 years, and that reminded me. Of course, the Democrats have been running Chicago and most of the major urban areas, and just the decay and decline, and it goes back to what I said in the first hour about I mentioned Arizona, and it may be a red state, but there are other states, certainly where their Obamacare premiums are going completely out of control, and they're blue states, and they're cheering Hillary, but it's like, wait a minute, so you're cheering your a $10,000 deductible and $5,000 a month. Is that what you're cheering? Because that's all you're going to get. Well, the same thing. Or
losing your doctor, or really only having one plan you can choose from because all the other ones folded.
Right, and then I'm going to say the same sort of mentality is with the blown out neighborhoods. There's videos on YouTube. It's called a trip through Detroit, and it's like, wow, and they're going to vote for Democrats, and I'm thinking, why? Don't vote for the D or the R. Vote for somebody who's going to improve your neighborhood. Having a D in power so you can cheer them on. Yay, raw, another Democrat, Hillary or whoever. Meanwhile, your kids are getting shot at walking down the street. Why would they do that?
Well, I was telling someone, I was on another program earlier in the week, and I said, because they were talking about, Trump's New Deal for Black Americans. I have a problem with the language. I'm like, I hear New Deal, I think FDR. But I said, no program is going to change anything because what the Democrats have done is really psychological warfare. With Flint, Michigan, and the water situation, who did the Democrats blame? Republicans. even though Flint is run by Democrats, somehow it's Republicans' fault. With Baltimore, Democrats who have run that city for 60 years. Every single person there is a Democrat. And with the police department, more than 50%, far more than 50% are black, and so that's when it shifted from white cops are bad to all cops are bad. Right. But they try to blame Republicans, for that. Republicans aren't even in the picture when it comes to that. It's like they convince people that Republicans are the bad guy. They'll blame Republicans for anything under the sun and convince someone that, this person is responsible for your troubles in life, the difficulties you've had in life, your failings in life. There's no personal responsibility. It's this person's fault. It's this Republican's fault. It's this white man's fault. And we're going to swoop in and make things all better.
Right. Right.
Again,
right.
reality versus rhetoric. They
right.
fall for rhetoric, not the reality.
There's a playbook, and might as well make it an audio tape. They just play it every 4 years. Democrats hate women. They hate gays. They want to kick old people out in the streets. They want to cut your health care. Every election cycle, it's a play. Just keep playing that tape, and then the people say, "Oh, I'm with you. We got to stop them." Well, maybe they're not doing that. Give it a try. See if they do that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and it's also the way the media presents things. I mean, years and years and years ago, when I was a little girl, the top media people, they actually just presented the information. Now it's like the media. There's a reason Andrew Breitbart called them the Democrat media complex. It's like they're an arm of the Democrat Party. I was actually surprised years ago when Obama tried to kick Fox News out of the White House press pool. Mr. There's no red or blue states. There's a United States tried to say that Fox isn't a legitimate news organization. Refused to go on Neil Cavuto's show because he said it wasn't a real business show. I'm like, seriously? But he tried to kick Fox out of the White House press pool, and the other news organizations actually stood against Obama on that and said, no, what are you talking about? And they stood up for Fox and wouldn't vote them out. But Obama tried. Tried, and that's why he still demonizes, the right-wing news. You never hear anyone use the term left-wing, because they don't follow his marching orders.
It's interesting.
You don't have them using. It's like these news organizations supposedly get a memo. Okay, this is the buzzword of the day, everybody. Let's make sure we use this as often as possible, because you'll hear it on CNN, MSNBC, all over the place.
Trump has been saying that the election is rigged. Well, there certainly have been signs of vote switching, whether machines or physical votes being moved or rewritten. But anyway, saying it's rigged. But there's video 2008 of Obama in a town hall meeting saying, yes, the elections are rigged, and Democrats sometimes, I'm from Chicago, so I know how it is that sometimes we get a little crazy about our beliefs and we want to tilt it in our favor, which is basically rig the system. How rigged do you think let's focus on this election. How rigged do you think it's going to be?
I don't know. There's always talk of that concern. It happens every election year, really. It's just, I think, people talking about it more because Trump is saying it. I mean, there have been Democrats that have gone to prison over voter fraud.
Oh, by the way,
it's happened, and then they always throw someone under the bus and act like it was a rogue employee, that did the IRS deal.
Right.
But
somebody's going to fall on the sword on this recent reinvestigation of Hillary Clinton. Somebody's going to fall on the sword on this one.
Yeah.
But they'll be handsomely rewarded once the smoke clears. That's how it always works.
Right, exactly. Like Lois Lerner, she did the dirty deeds, and then what happened? She had a cushy retirement. You could tell how well she was being treated and how much money she was still getting paid, and her severance package that she got. If you look at her, in the beginning, and if you look at her when she returned to testify, when she wouldn't really testify, she looked like two totally different people, because she obviously had a lot of plastic surgery. And it's like, hey, where'd she get that kind of money? I mean, seriously.
Right. Let me give you a little factoid. Indiana's where we're at, Indianapolis, and 2008. in the election. They were putting him on the ballots. Well, in Indiana, all the counties have to have the presidential candidate on the ballot in order for the state then to be part of the national election. Well, there's a county called Vigo County that did not have enough votes to put Obama on their ballot. So the Democrats in that county, started writing in Republicans' names. So they ended up getting him enough votes to where it was on the ballot. Well, it took 3 years, but those people that did that rigged that election, went to prison. So here is a classic case of a rigged election, which basically the election results stood because it couldn't be retroactive, but the people got jailed. But Obama may never have been on the ballot had they not rigged and stolen, perpetrated that fraud.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I heard a story about a college kid who actually worked with the Democrat head of something. I forget which state it was, but he was caught having turned in 19, I think it was, voter registration cards for people who are no longer living. Mm-hmm. And the only reason he was caught was because one of the names that he put down was a man who had been a longtime principal at a school. Mm-hmm. And the clerk who happened to be processing those voter registration cards knew the man and knew that he died 2 years ago. And that's the only reason this kid was caught. Of course, he's thrown under the bus. The guy says, "Oh, I didn't know anything about that. He did that, on his own." And the left would say, "Oh, that's only 19." But imagine if you have people in every single county, district, whatever, throughout the country, and you have that happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is why I'm a firm believer that you should have to produce an ID to vote. Number one,
right?
I think it's a ridiculous notion to say that it's voter suppression to require someone to produce an ID. So are the Democrats going to say that the federal government wants to suppress me as a black woman from flying on a plane because I have to show my identification? Mm-hmm. That they want to suppress me from getting medication that I might need to make me well because I think you need to show your ID even to get some over-the-counter cold medicine? That they want to suppress me from being able to receive my mail because you have to have your ID to open a post office box. I mean, and there's some places you have to have an ID, and then you have to produce a utility bill or something, to show that you are who you are. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think that there should be mail-in ballots. I think everyone should have to actually physically go to a polling station. In Washington State, it was an embarrassment when we lived there. I lived there for about 7 years, but it was all mail-in ballot. There was no polling stations, all mail-in ballot. And if you couldn't sign your name, you could just put an X on it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to be a clean election. But that's the only way to keep it clean, and that's why the Democrats fight so hard against those things, because they don't want clean elections.
No, of course they don't. Whenever a Democrat goes past the graveyard, they say, "Remember, guys, vote early, vote often." So and I don't know why it is they only seem to vote for one party. There's a bunch of partisans in the graveyard. I don't know. I'm just saying. So Jennifer, what's your projection for who's going to win the election?
Goodness gracious, I just don't even know. I really don't. I know Hillary has lost ground. I mean, a couple of days ago, she was in double digits ahead in national polls. I think now she's only 4 points ahead. So. Now,
was that before the October surprise?
It was before Friday, yeah.
So we haven't had any major polls after, have we?
Huh?
Have we had any major polls after the bombshell?
No, we haven't had any major polls since then. So I'm guessing, people will do polls again, probably Monday through Wednesday, and report them on Friday or something like that, like they usually do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's. I heard someone today say, "Oh, Hillary supporters are energized." No, Hillary supporters are not. They're not energized. In fact, even Oprah Winfrey said people in the Democrat Party don't actually like Hillary Clinton. I mean, she's not a likable candidate. I can barely listen to her. And she's as corrupt as the day is long. I mean, it's incredible that people want you to act like, this isn't a big deal, because it is. The way she used the Clinton Foundation and the State Department and all the various things she's done should disturb everybody. But if Trump could simply stick to the issues, For example, when he gave his went to Gettysburg to give his 10-point plan for his first 100 days,
Yep.
and he opens up talking about how he's going to sue his accusers. I look at my husband and I said, "What the heck is he doing?" I said, "No one's going to talk about his plan. Everyone's going to talk about these first 10, 15 minutes. Their reporters had already left their television sets to write about what he just said. Why didn't he just focus on these issues?" So he either needs to pull a Hillary and not campaign at all, and don't give the media anything about him to talk about, because if he says one thing controversial, they'll talk about that and ignore everything about Hillary.
Of course.
Or he simply needs to stick to the issues.
Okay. Now, I must say, not that I'm trying to be his defender, but since he threatened to sue them, the whole bimbo eruption seems to have faded away.
It hasn't. 2 more have come out since then.
Oh, a couple more? Okay. Let's say he's having a lot of fun.
One just yesterday, former Miss Utah, and then a former Miss Finland who competed in Miss USA. So
okay. Hey,
but they haven't gotten as much press as the original ones, though.
Okay. Hey, we got this question come in for you, Jennifer Burke of Politistick. It says, "What do you think about the video released by Project Veritas?"
You know, I was watching CNN one night, and CNN had the audacity to call James O'Keefe a discredited filmmaker who doctors videos. I said, "Are you kidding me? CNN, do you know how many times you've been caught doctoring videos which actually change what actually happened?" James O'Keefe didn't edit anything to make it seem different what was said. You saw someone talking for 5 minutes, and they clearly said what they said. Not he's spliced out this one word, or took out this one sentence, or something like that. But those Project Veritas videos, most recently, one of the most recent ones showed that that guy Scott Fogle with Democracy Partners and the Fogle Group and Citizens for the American Way or something like that, was behind the whole Mitt Romney 47%. This is what they've done. Now, it came out that Hillary did give the order about the whole Donald Duck thing to follow Donald Duck, and there was collusion and coordination illegally between Hillary and a super PAC, and Hillary and super PACs and these organizations to cause chaos at Trump rallies and all kinds of things. But beyond that, they admit it. They've been doing this for years. They've been doing this for decades. And this is why the left wants to discredit James O'Keefe. Matthew and I would look at it, we were like, and when a new video would come out, we were like, how did he do this? We were like, they had to have been working on it for a long time. And then I heard that they infiltrated and worked in these organizations for a year and a half to gain people's trust. And they had people at very high levels. So the left is trying to discredit it because James O'Keefe is exposing what they don't want people to know.
Right. I noticed in the live chat, a couple of you have said, "I love this woman," talking about you. All right, this is a question from our moderator of the live chat, speaking of the live chat, Jade. It says, there are several videos on YouTube that show people stuffing the ballot box. Why haven't they been arrested?
Why weren't the Black Panthers arrested when they were standing outside of polling stations with billy clubs?
Right.
It's really incredible that the things that the government will just turn their eye on.
You mean like Eric Holder running guns down to Mexican drug lords that turned around and killed our own people?
Right. Like I tell people all the time when Obama starts talking about guns, I say, look, drug dealers and criminals and terrorists don't care about the law. They're going to get a gun whatever way they can. And Barack Obama and Eric Holder showed that to be true with their Fast and Furious gun running scandal that led to the death of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry.
Do you think that the director of the FBI, James Comey, is going to release more information, or is he going to sit on this thing until after the election?
I don't know if an investigation can be completed in 10 days. But like Trey Gowdy was saying yesterday, Hillary Clinton is demanding that he release information because she knows that he can't. There's limited information he can actually release about the investigation as long as the investigation is taking place. But they're trying to make it out. There was a Huffington Post contributor today who actually said, compared Putin to James Comey. Who needs Putin? Putin is as bad as, or James Comey is as bad as Putin. So now they're going to work to discredit James Comey.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to try to, before they loved him.
Right.
I saw videos of Nancy Pelosi praising, great patriot James Comey because he let Hillary off the hook. But now they're going to try to portray him as a partisan hack who is in on it with the Republicans. Mm-hmm. And that's why Hillary is trying to act like she's being all transparent, asking for it to be. If she was so transparent, she wouldn't have lied over and over and over and over and over again regarding the whole thing.
What she's saying is, release, in the interest of transparency, release the emails that I deleted to keep people from seeing.
Right.
It makes no sense. You got to think about what she's really saying. These are emails she tried to hide and crimes she committed. She's tried to hide, and she's trying to take the high road, like you said. Well, why don't you show them, knowing full well that she can't? But on that point, though, Comey interviewed her for 4 hours, or his people did for 4 hours, and the next day said she was not guilty. They didn't have time to even look at her testimony or evaluate her testimony. It was like it was decided already. So that was done in a day.
And they didn't record it. Why wasn't her testimony actually recorded?
Mm-hmm. And they allowed Cheryl Mills in there.
I have a problem with people. I'm like, it's a dangerous thing, I think, when people are being investigated for doing things against the government officials, not, and then they plead the fifth and don't want to confess, don't want to talk about what actually happened, what they did, whatever. And then like Hillary, try to hide the information. She lied about it. Initially, it was all emails about my granddaughter, my daughter's wedding yoga, and to my husband, who doesn't use email.
Right,
that should have been the first clue that she was lying, because he's on record of saying he never uses it. And then she lied about how many devices she uses. When she was asked about wiping the server, i.e., alluding, now we know the bleach bit. She goes, "What do you mean with the cloth?" I mean, she was doing everything that she could to make sure people didn't find out about it. In fact, I read that she was even trying to hide lots of details about her use of this private email server housed in someone's bathroom. It's not like a Gmail account that Colin Powell had. Tried to hide it from some of her top aides and people on her campaign. This transparency.
On this possibility of being indicted, it seems like they want to rush that through so Obama could pardon her, but my feeling is he's going to try to do a proactive pardon, and maybe try to stop the whole investigation by some sort of executive order. Who knows? Because like you said in the first hour, and probably even in the second, that you can't put anything past them. There's no constitutional restriction whatsoever, and the Congress does not have a backbone at all to challenge him on anything.
Right.
He's like a dictator.
And Hillary and Obama, even though Hillary is from she grew up in Arkansas and all that, she spent a lot of time in Chicago. They're both, Obama laughed it off and he's called an Alinsky disciple. Hillary Clinton had worked with Saul Alinsky, did papers on Saul Alinsky. There's nothing pretty and clean about politics in the city of Chicago. I said from the beginning of Obama's rise, I was like, they want us to believe that Barack Obama is the only person in Chicago politics that arose out of that cesspool as pure as the driven snow.
Okay.
I mean, seriously. I mean, it's so, and the number of people within Chicago politics that he has surrounding him, they're going to have each other's backs because, again, grand plan, grand scheme. One of the things that Obama did throughout his presidency is he actually tried to do so much so fast, and that was one of Saul Alinsky's big no-nos. You do it slowly.
I saw
if it's done slowly, they aren't gonna. They might not notice. It was just. I remember at the beginning of Obama's presidency, I would tell people, I feel like we're a punching bag. It's like there's this thing and this thing and this thing. It was just constant barrage.
And that's a Saul Alinsky tactic, though, isn't it? Like overwhelm the system.
I don't know if that is when it comes to like changing policies and politics. Like Saul Alinsky, one of the things and if you haven't seen Hillary's America by Dinesh D'Souza, it's a must see.
Okay.
But one of Saul Alinsky's big things was he was a big outside the system guy. But Hillary thought, well, if I was in the system, if I was the system, I could change things faster. So, but they do want to overwhelm the system, but I don't know about doing as many things at once as Obama did, but it was effective for him. I mean, he's gotten, you talked about success. It depends upon how you define success as Obama's presidency, because he has fundamentally transformed America in many ways. I mean, you have Obama who lit the White House in rainbow colors when the Supreme Court declared marriage is okay between two people of the same sex, but he wouldn't do that. He never painted. He never honor the men and women in blue who risked their lives.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He never shot blue up on that White House.
Nope.
So if Obama is attempted, and in some ways has fundamentally changed America, and I would say for the worse, but I would imagine that Hillary wants to redouble his efforts. Now, how would she remake and fundamentally transform into Hillary's America?
Well,
what kind of damage can that skank do?
Watch Hillary's America, Dinesh D'Souza's film, and you'll see Hillary tries to portray herself as this moderate. That's why she has these supposed Republicans, some of whom have been caught not really being Republicans at all, doing commercials for her. But she'll just continue to push the far left progressive agenda. I'm not sure. Truthfully, part of me wonders if she'll be as far left as Obama, or if she'll be more like her husband, because ultimately, in the end, Bill Clinton just wanted to be liked, and he tries to take credit for the economy, but the economy was the way it was in large part because he had the check of Congress on him, and he actually adhered to that check. He didn't, but today's Democrat Party is a lot different than it used to be. So I don't know. I've told people I've never been more concerned about my country than I am right at this moment.
So since Obama's already got grown men peeping into the little girl's bathroom, I mean, what kind of freaky thing do you think Hillary? What's the worst case scenario of what she?
She tried to push for single payer. Remember Hillary Care? She was the original author of that years ago, and it didn't work. It was a big flop. Be that. I think the Supreme Court is actually looking to rule on this whole transgender bathroom thing. I think it's made it up to the Supreme Court because states have pushed back, led by Texas, and so we'll see what they rule on that. What else would Hillary do? Taxation. Okay. I mean, we all have to be concerned about that.
They're saying she's going to appoint justices that are going to try to reverse the Second Amendment. Is that even possible?
I know, right? I mean, it's incredible what Democrats portray as rights, and then what real rights that they actually try to take away or talk about putting limitations on. I mean, it's and their key word. Anytime you hear Democrats say common sense, run away and fight hard. or fight against it. Run away, meaning don't buy into their rhetoric, and fight against it, because anytime they say common sense, really it's anti-constitutional.
We had Dr. Ted Noel on last week. Do you know who he is? Okay. He has a ridiculous amount of views on his YouTube videos concerning what he documents as Hillary's actual medical condition. He says that she displays every symptom of Parkinson's disease. Certainly, there is a question of her health. She, fainting, falling down, bumping her head, can't remember 39 times. She has all these type of issues. Do you see that she has a medical condition that may preclude her from finishing out her term?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I've heard different.
Do you think she has any medical condition?
Even that, was it Dr. Oz who showed Dr. Drew?
Yeah,
whose show got cut from Headline News, I think, after he questioned Hillary's health. But I can tell you, when they tried to say the whole September 11th incident when she left the 9/11 ceremony, and then their story changed and they didn't follow protocol. Right. I mean, there's no way someone's going to be in the condition that she was in as a former first lady and presidential candidate, and they wouldn't get her to the hospital. Right. I'm just like, that was not, you were overwhelmed by heat. First it was, she was overwhelmed by heat. Oh, I felt better once I got into the car and got air conditioning. You could tell there was a problem.
A major problem.
She couldn't even walk to the van a couple of feet.
I can't even
and
believe.
I don't think that they're being honest. Of course, I mean, they're not going to be honest about what happened or what's there. But, Trump was in regards to the letter that his doctor wrote, the media talked a lot more about that than Hillary didn't submit full medical records herself. It was just kind of an overview according to her doctor. But she's had substantial health problems, even in the last, during her time as Secretary of State.
Right, with her coughing.
She had substantial health problems.
Her coughing fits, her faints, or her lack of memory.
Yeah, the blood clots, her thyroid condition,
clots,
her the fainting. I mean, there's traveling with a personal doctor.
Something's up.
She should. When John McCain ran for Senate, he had this whole televised thing about his health. Submitted hundreds of pages about his health, and because he had cancer previously, I think they said. But and with Hillary, it's just like, oh, okay, she says it, she's fine. Move on.
Well, yeah, I mean, here you talk about breaking protocol. When she fainted and lost her shoe, how can you can't even remotely consider that the Secret Service say, oh, she wants to go to her daughter's house. She's near. She could have been near death.
Right.
How would they know? They're not doctors. They should have overrode and said, if you have the slightest medical condition, we need to get you to the doctor right now. She could have been poisoned dart. She could have been shot. Who knows?
Well, and they even NYPD protocol was that NYPD would escort her vehicle, and they basically ditched it all. They refused it, and then they left. And I heard Dan Bongino, former Secret Service agent, talk about it, and he said when the one agent crossed in front of her, he was like, that's something that wouldn't even be done either, because you're not going to get in the way of her access to get into the van. But there's all kind of protocol that they broke. I mean, that she would be in that condition. When they said she was dehydrated, I had just had a friend who's back in Texas who was dehydrated just days before. And she posted a picture of herself on Facebook with a needle in her arm because she had to get fluids. I'm like, you're not going to take someone who's severely dehydrated to your daughter's apartment?
Where evidently they had a makeup artist and a hairstylist there too, because I'm not saying she's a clone or anything like that, but her face was completely different and full of makeup that was not there, because there are pictures of her in the ceremony with those dark blue glasses, and her hair was muffed up. But when she came out of the apartment, her hair was styled and her makeup was completely fresh. So they had that. I guess they had that on standby at her daughter's apartment. And speaking of breaking protocol, it's come out that Huma had been breaking security protocols when Hillary would go overseas, like particularly to Berlin. There's various documents that show she overrode the security protocols. It's almost as if she was trying to clear the way for somebody to hack in to Hillary's phone and her computers to find out what they were doing, like she was giving that information away. Now, speaking, there was a human connection with this October surprise, with this goofy predator, freakazoid named Wiener. And somehow there's a three-way going on there. And I knew that Hillary and Huma may have something, but now we've got a three-way going on. But you think Huma's going to be the one to end up falling on the sword for Hillary?
Who knows? I was wondering that myself, if Hillary is going to end up throwing Huma, her longtime aide, who she's described as like her second daughter, under the bus, because Huma isn't traveling with Hillary over this weekend, and she's never not by Hillary's side. She's always by her side.
I did not know that. You're right. Yeah. She's absolutely.
She's not traveling with her. There's someone else that's traveling in her place.
But
someone else posed a very interesting question. I forget who it was. I saw it on Twitter. They said, so what we learned in this October surprise too is that the FBI didn't confiscate and check that personal home computer of Huma Abedin to begin with. Why didn't they? I mean, you would think that given what they were investigating, that every single piece of technology that these people had access to would be combed over and checked, and it wasn't. Well,
see, I still can't understand how that Comey pardoned everybody in the whole case. I mean, made a deal with everybody in the whole case, and then they pleaded the fifth, and then Then Comey agrees to smash a couple government computers.
Yeah, which should have been archived according to protocol. It's so funny. Democrats now are all upset. Oh, Comey broke protocol. He broke protocol in sending that letter, and that's something you don't do at this time and everything. But they weren't upset over what you just said. They weren't upset that Hillary Clinton broke protocol, for months and then lied about it in regards to her personal email server housed in someone's bathroom, unsecured, and she said, oh, I only used one device to make it easier. No, she actually used, 8 BlackBerries and 5 iPads,
right,
and then they were destroyed along the way. That they weren't upset about, but Comey sending this letter, they're upset about.
How is government property allowed to be smashed?
It shouldn't be. That shouldn't have never been agreed to.
Well, who's going to jail? Who's going to jail for that?
You have to wonder, was Obama's hand in that? Because I'll bet you anything, if you dig deep down, especially with the President of the United States communicating using an alias address. I don't know if you saw the emails when Obama said to someone in the media that this is the first he found out.
Right.
There were emails that said, this is what the president just said, we need to fix this, because there were emails between the two of them that didn't say state.
It's collusion. That's what it is. It's collusion, and it sounds somebody needs to go to jail, and I don't know how many crimes they have to commit, and I guess as many as they want. So what do you? But based on that, I mean, like you said, Comey gave a litany of crimes she committed, and said, "Oh, by the way, she's not guilty." But now with this, he must know the ramifications are intense, and Loretta Stench is probably trying to arrest him, putting all kind of pressure on him. Why do you think he did it? Did somebody from inside the organization have something on Comey and forced his hand?
I don't know. I mean, it was, like I said, it was shocking. I'm not sure why he did it. I don't know if he was tired of being attacked in the whole thing, because he knows deep down inside she should have been charged with something. Or, what did those emails reveal? Did he see, they are saying, I think I saw it today, that it wasn't anything from her email server, but it was emails pertinent to what they were investigating. So what conversations did they read in those emails? I mean, it really, the Democrats are trying to say it was only 3 emails. No, I don't think that's the case. There were far more than 3 emails.
Yeah, and
I don't know why he did it. I'm very surprised, and I'll be curious to see how quickly this investigation moves along.
Well, see, I can boil things down to simpler questions too. When Bill Clinton met Loretta Stench out on the tarmac in was it Arizona?
Arizona.
He was supposed to be playing golf that day. Okay. Well, what reporter found out what golf course he went to? Did anybody even ask the question which one it was? It was 109 degrees that day, and he happened to be there on the tarmac. He's, well, there's Loretta right over there. I'll just walk on over there and spend 39 minutes talking about golf. I'm sure.
And it's not like they were on a commercial airplane, both in first class. They were on separate private planes. So we actually had to go to her plane and board it, and I don't buy that, we were just talking about our grandchildren, we've known each other for a long time, any more than I bought the Hillary, it was emails about yoga and my daughter's wedding. I don't buy it.
Right. And besides that, I'd like to see somebody, if the Russians are hacking, I want them to get it up off those yoga pictures. I want to see this thing, man. What kind of yoga she do? Because it ain't working.
Right. If Hillary actually did yoga, there'd be, I don't know if you saw the ridiculously staged picture of when she was supposedly watching the play that got the Cubs to the World Series. I'm like, yeah, right. Like they took that at that moment she's watching it. There'd be staged pictures of her going in with her yoga mat.
Oh, wow. Hey, I know you don't give into conspiracies much, but every once in a while I see somebody post something that says that Hillary Clinton had used a green screen to make it look like she has people at her rally. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard of such a thing.
Well, you can imagine the conspiracy theories out there. But what you can be assured of is that, and you said it in the first hour, that there is no enthusiasm there. I mean, Tim Kaine had to cancel some event in Florida. He normally gets about 10 people showing up at his deals, and then when Hillary's there, she may get like maybe 100. I don't know, and they're probably paid actors anyway. So I'm not seeing the enthusiasm there.
No, I mean, there's not enthusiasm to go there. I mean, to go to her rallies, but the question is who's actually going to show up on election day, because that's the concern that Donald Trump and the Republican Party should have, is that one thing the Democrats have been working on is a ground game, get out the vote. And as of right now, even with the $10 million that Trump wrote a check for on Friday, that puts him at $26 million on hand, and Hillary Clinton has well over $100 million on hand. And the Democrats are going to get out the vote, and Trump stopped the fundraising that would help fund the get out the vote effort. So we'll see what happens.
A little factoid. I don't know if you caught this in the Twitterverse or not, but the woman that was protecting the star on the Walk of Fame, You know, she was harassed and pushed down and maybe beat up. I don't know. But did you know that I think Trump's political directors, one of his directors, they were looking for her. And the thing is, they said that Trump has a gift for her. They're trying to find her.
I did see a little bit about that. We were out running errands, and that he was looking for her. But yeah, you know, it's incredible. It's is the leftist media going to call for Hillary to denounce the actions of these people around this woman for attacking her? It's doubtful. Like Joe Biden, after spending months and months and months talking about Trump's rhetoric and one that has violence has no place, you know, in our society or whatever. Then you have the Vice President of the United States saying on more than one occasion, "I'd like to take Trump behind the, behind the gym," and people's response is, "Oh, that's just Joe. That's just old Joe being Joe."
Yeah, just locker room talk, huh? Just locker room. Frankly, I don't think he fared too well against Trump. I mean,
I don't know. Joe said, "Where's Joe from? Scranton."
Scranton, okay.
Scrappy Scranton. Who knows? But I just think it's ridiculous. He's the Vice President of the United States. It is not an appropriate thing for him to be saying.
That's undignified, frankly. Yeah, but you know the office has been undignified for years. You know, particularly with blue dress and stains going on in there. They need to they need to drain the swamp up there. But I think the Republican Party should take heed, because this is not a confirmation of the Republican Party. If Donald Trump loses, no matter what, he got that curtain, he pulled it back. He exposed a whole bunch of freaking gators up there in Washington D.C. They're all in on it. They're all, you know, they party every night. After what I understand is the Democrats and Republicans, they limousines pull up at 4:00 and they all go get drunk and soiree every night, you know. But you know, the Republicans, they need to be cleaned out. I mean, they're of no use, and because how much they are against Trump, they're really against the groundswell of people who are saying we've had enough. Well, that groundswell is not going to go away. So Republicans better not be thinking they're getting a free ticket because, you know, there's all these millions of people and all this enthusiasm for Trump. The enthusiasm is to get rid of the system that's been broken for years or decades.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the Republicans in D.C. are against anybody who won't, you know, go along to get along. I mean, that's why they were against the Tea Party. That's why they were against Ted Cruz. That's why they were against Mike Lee. That's why they were against Paul Gosar and David Schweikert and Matt Salmon and, you know, any David Bratt, anybody who wouldn't just do, you know, this is the way we do things here. Anyone that called them out on it, anyone that tried to make them follow their platform, you know, they didn't want that. It's like, when the first time I saw a picture of John Boehner kissing Nancy Pelosi on the cheek, I was like, are you serious?
Ooh.
Really? And you want me to believe that you're fighting against her?
That's a brain
Nancy
scar.
Pelosi, one of the most vile human beings, you know, out there.
Yeah. Yeah, disgusting. Jennifer Burke of Politistick, we're at the end of the broadcast. I want to thank you for coming on the program. What you guys say about your website and what people can find there?
Yeah, I hope you guys check out our website, politistick.com, Politi stick.com, and find us on Facebook at facebook.com/politistick, Politi stick.
Okay. Well, Jennifer Burke, I appreciate you coming on the broadcast. Can we have you on again sometime?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Look forward to it.
All right, you bet. Good evening.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, that was Jennifer Burke of Politistick, and right here on the program, and we appreciate her coming on the program. Next week, we're going to have Dr. Jim Fetzer with us, so that'll be a lot of fun. 2 weeks, Josh and Christina Peck will be with the program, and then Jason Offit, we're going to be talking about time travel. If we haven't had a guest on the program you'd like to see, drop me a line at edjam@yahoo.com, and we'll do our best to get them onto the line, and it will be a lot of fun if you do. This program will be able to, we'll start to replay immediately after I log off here. We'll put the high definition video up in our YouTube player. We'll put the audio in our TuneIn radio player, which plays 24 hours a day. Just rotates our programs, and we'll podcast it as well. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Now remember, when that November 8th, when it comes rolling around, I'm going to be blowing up the Twitterverse, and you can't miss my awesome quips from the Cosmic Cowboy. All right, that'd be a wrap. Daniel out for the Edge. Getting ready to sign off here. Sweetie, bye-bye. And for the rest of you, bye-bye.